Hello, Phil Cross here. Here's me face, as the Aussie man says. I'm going to speak to you in this one about the treatments that you can expect during the course of hopefully getting this esophageal cancer shit cut out of you. It's not the same for everybody, and it really wholly depends on how early you find it, what kind of state the cancer is in its actual self, which I'll go into. None of this is scripted. I'm kind of making it up as I go along, but I've got my phone in front of me with a couple of bullet points that I feel are important and I don't really want to miss. So after the diagnosis, I'm sitting in the shade in Sad Hill Cemetery. You'll probably see another film about that, but. After the diagnosis, after it was found, when they put the camera down my throat, I had to wait 2 weeks. And then those 2 weeks, it's a long time. You know, if you have the word cancer delivered to you, waiting to speak to somebody who might be able to sort of tell you a little bit more about what you can expect it's a long time, 2 weeks. But that said, we were in COVID, so 2 weeks wasn't an awful long time in the greater scheme of things. The NHS were absolutely blinding. So I got contacted fairly quickly, got given an appointment, which was 2 weeks after the 9th of January. And I went to see a consultant at Basildon Hospital. I only ever saw him once because he then referred me to a surgical team over at Broomfield. But I had sort of one consultation with him, and the lovely nurse Natalie, who's been part of the sort of oncology nursing team ever since. We have sort of contact here and now. And I went into this meeting, and I don't know. Forgive me if you're in the same boat and I'm about to burst your bubble, but I had this crazy sense that there's a good cancer and a bad cancer. There's malignant and there's non-malignant, and fingers crossed I've got that non-malignant one, because that's not too bad, is it? It's not too bad at all. So one of the first questions I asked the consultant was, what type of cancer is it? Can you tell me, is it that non-malignant one? And he just looked at me, he said, have you got cancer? I said, yeah, but which one? Is it the good one or the bad one? He said, well, there's no such thing. It's either cancer or it's not cancer. It's non-malignant is actually a tumour, which is non-malignant. It's nothing to do with cancer. So that was my bubble burst fairly quickly. But he was really good. He spoke to me about he's got a friend that had esophageal cancer and was sort of 16 years after treatment and what have you. So there's that kind of hopefully I can be in that position. He then referred me to Dr. Bagan, who is the oncologist. I think I've got one more meeting with her in September, and then that'll be me done. And the surgical team, Mr. Tang and Mr. Lorenzi, who were lifesavers, let's be honest about it. So after seeing that first consultant, the next thing I did was meet the oncologist. And what happened was, remembering that it's during COVID, and I do keep going on about it, but Christ, it was during COVID. I had something medical to do almost every 10 days, so there was always something to focus on. So I then went to see Dr. Begum, the oncologist. She told me about the chemo plan that she had for me was a 6 weeks worth of chemo, which I would get at Southend. So I got diagnosed in Basildon. All the chemo treatment was at Southend. The surgical treatment was at Broomfield, and then Southend and Basildon then took over the remainder of it, and it's been Basildon ever since. But the chemo plan was 6 weeks, and what I had to do was I had to have a PICC line fitted, which is something they attach to you so they can just attach what they need to attach, and it goes straight into your system. And there's a very, very thin tube that goes down your artery towards your heart, so it sort of delivers it to the heart, so it just gets spread really quickly. So the PICC line was going to be fitted in order to have the chemo. I got the date set for chemo. It was going to be 6 weeks. Before that, I then had to have a fitness test. Excuse me. I had to have a fitness test, and that involved a bike with a mask. And that was basically so they could assess what kind of treatment you need in the ICU after the operation. Before I went for my chemo, I had to go to Springfield Hospital, which is over in Chelmsford, not too far away from Broomfield, and Mr. Lorenzi conducted almost like an exploratory operation where it was a couple of keyholes, belly button and whatever, and I think basically what they did was they put a camera up and had a little explore, recorded as they went, so that they could then relook at it and come up with a plan of action for the actual op. So I had the exploratory done, and then I went for chemo. Southend, I'd go to Southend and I'd have 2 infusions there with a glucose infusion in between them. So you'd have one infusion lasting about an hour, glucose about half an hour, and then another one for an hour. Then you had a final glucose one. Christ, you're peeing for England at this time. And then once that was done, they then put attached a pod to me, which had another infusion that lasted 24 hours. At the end of that 24 hours, obviously you'd be at home. The district nurse would come round, take it off, clean up the PICC line and wrap all the PICC line up so it's ready to go for next time. The thing about the PICC line is it needs to be cleaned every week, and my infusions were every 2 weeks. So in the interim weekend, the PICC line nurse would come round and basically flush it through, clean it and repackage it. So that lasted for 6 weeks. What does it do when you watch your soaps and stuff where somebody's got cancer and they're going for the infusions and stuff, and the actors try and make a decent fist of how it affects you. It's pretty much like that. Again, I'm led to believe that it affects everybody differently. There are a number of possible side effects, and you just fall in that bracket. So whichever one you get. So for me, I had the shits for 2 or 3 days. They give you tablets for that. That was followed by nausea. They give you tablets for that. And the whole of that sort of lasted 4 or 5 days. You'd have your skin would be really itchy, lethargic. You're generally feeling just ill. It lasted for about 10 days. So after that sort of 10-day period, you started to feel a little bit better, and then I'll be able to go out for a walk, just trying to just get some fresh air. I mean, my wife would tell you pretty much the entire period I was up on my bed for the most part. I'd go for a walk day 11, 12, try and make the walks a little bit further each day, just to try and get some fresh air in me and move a little bit. And then after sort of 2 weeks, you go back and start it all again. That happened for 6 weeks. At the end of that 6 weeks, I digress. When you go for your treatments, if it's the same kind of thing, take an overnight bag with you, regardless of the fact that you're going to be going home. The first time I went, the first treatment I went, they take a little X-ray first to make sure your PICC line's all good, and my PICC line had managed to sort of double up on itself inside the vein. So I don't know how it managed to do it, but it managed to sort of double up, so they wouldn't be able to use it. So they had to take that PICC line out, and because the second infusion was 24 hours, or the third infusion was 24 hours, I had to be admitted. So that caused issues around getting sort of bags in with some, a wash kit and the like. So just go prepared with the possibility of staying overnight, because at any time that PICC line can go wrong, and they'll need to admit you in order to give you the chemicals. So yeah, after that 6 weeks, I then had another 6 weeks to wait before I could have the operation, because they need the chemo to settle down. And during that 6 weeks period, I had another fitness test, because they wanted to see how I'd been affected by the chemo in relation to the fitness, and whether they needed to make any adjustments. And I think they did. I was quite pleased that my fitness on the second test was better than the first test. I don't know how that works, but it is what it is. And in that 6 weeks waiting for the operation, I was told to basically just smash the pizzas and the takeaways and try and put on a little bit of weight to aid you through the ICU. So on the 9th of June, I went to Broomfield, COVID. Again, difficult time really. My son needed to go to school. My wife needed to take him to school. I needed to be at the hospital for 7 a.m. It's impossible for the two to meet, so my good Sergeant Butch basically took me to hospital, and it's a strange feeling because he had to drop me off. He couldn't come into the hospital, so I've just left him and walked off the door, said goodbye to my wife and son earlier that morning. And there's always that thing where, you know, am I going to actually come out of this? When I was getting checked in, a nurse brought a consent form around for me to sign. This was the 4th time I had to sign a consent form, and make no bones about it, this was a 50-50 job. You know, I'm going into the operation. It's not necessarily whether the operation will work, although there can be complications, which means the operation doesn't work, but it's whether or not you actually survive the operation itself. It's about 11 hours. Half of that you're on your back, and half of that you're on your front because of the things they have to do. So yeah, I've signed the consent form for the 4th time. And it's really odd when you go into the thing, you have the sort of the pre-op, they have to put the epidural and stuff while you're in the sort of little room before you go into the... I've got quite a big tattoo on my back, and I just remember the people that were putting the epidural in and whatever just asking me about my tattoo. And it's that strange. Is this really the last conversation I'm going to have? It's surreal. Fortunately, it seems like that amount of time I'm waking up in the recovery room. It turns out it was about just over 11 hours, all told. Got all sorts of shit hanging off me. Got a big bundle of things that they've put on with a stitch that are all so they can inject different types of bits and pieces to you. Got lines with bags and a chest drain. Chest drain was the worst thing. But then wake up in the ICU. I stayed 5 days in the ICU. I was only supposed to stay 3. And the reason I stayed 5 was because they didn't have a room for me in the main wards, which for me and my wife was quite a lucky thing for us, because again, harping on about it, it was during COVID. She could visit me in the ICU, but she can't visit me in a ward. So we had an extra 2 days where she could come and see me, which was nice. And she'll tell you, it was, you know, when you're sort of recovering from stuff like that, you know, people, you just can't be asked really, and it's you're just tired and you just want out. And I think there was one of the occasions she's come to visit me, and I think after about 15 minutes she said, "Oh, okay, do you want me to go now? You look a bit tired." And it was, yeah, go on, please. Yeah, I am a bit tired. So, you know, as much as she made that sort of 50-minute journey to come and see me, she only saw me for 15 minutes, but understands totally. So if you're a partner, you know, and you're visiting them, you know, it's not that they don't want to see you. Trust me, it was to see her walking through the door was an absolute delight. But you're tired, and you know, you can get the feeling that they're just sitting looking at you, and you get that feeling where they're wasting their time, and you don't want to be there waste the time as much as they want to be there with you. So yeah, moved into the main ward. Physiotherapist comes around to see you, dietitian comes around to see you. How are we doing there? 40 minutes, yeah. Dietitian comes around to see you. You can't eat fuck all. Seriously, it's just proper soft, little, the little pots of rice pudding perhaps, or custards. I tried jacket potato with some cheese on it, and it's dire. So the Ivor Lewis operation, what they do is they basically cut your esophagus out. That comes out. They take most of your stomach, the top part of your stomach, because it's close to the cancer, and they've got what they call margins they've got to work to. So they take most of your stomach, and the remaining bit of the stomach they basically twist into a tube, make into a tube, and then that is attached to you somewhere up here. So my stomach now is between my lung and my back rib cage, so it's between my lung and my back, and it's a tube that probably extends this far. Best way to describe it's like a rabbit's ear. So I'll talk to you about after effects of that after, because that's quite important. That's how that goes with the operation. Soft food, it's a nightmare. You can't eat very much. I found in the early days what was happening was, it was almost, I can't describe it any other way than the food was going into the stomach, and then the fluids that were in the stomach were being, obviously the food's going down, weighted, the fluids in the stomach were coming up, and then I was being sick, and it was just the clear fluid that was in the stomach before I ate. You're not heaving and retching. You can literally, trust me when I tell you, you can literally bend over so that your head's below your knees and it'll come out. The reason for that is the top part of the stomach that they take has got the sphincter in, so there's no longer a sphincter that holds the food in. So when you swallow normally, it gets down, the sphincter opens, food goes in, sphincter closes, and you can keep stuffing yourself and the sphincter will hold it in, and that's where your stomach stretches. That don't happen to you anymore. When I know I'm full, the voice changes because the food's coming up the throat. So when my voice changes, I know that I'm full and I need to stop eating. And you don't. It's not a lot of food, to be fair. So your food then becomes more important to get as many calories as you can into that small amount of food. You need to do like there's a blowy thing that you give. You have to balance the ball in the airstream for a full breath and whatever. That's to try and reinflate your lung. One of your lungs gets collapsed whilst you're in the operation. It's the lung, obviously, where the stomach finishes up behind. After about 5 days in the main ward, I get sent home. I got sent home without morphine. If you're in this position and you're being sent home, do not leave that hospital without morphine. I don't care what they say to you. Tell them you want to speak to somebody higher. Okay, you need morphine. I'd been on morphine the whole time, and I'd had an injection. You push a button basically for what's it? I had a induction, if you like, of morphine about 15 minutes before I was going home. Walked out of the hospital. Wife was waiting for me in the sort of main reception area. Get in the car, lovely. Get home, fucked. Absolutely fucked. The pain is incredible, and they're telling you they told me when I left, I just needed paracetamol. Paracetamol will cut it. It just doesn't. My wife got onto 111. They put her in touch with a doctor, and the doctor couldn't believe that I'd been sent home without morphine. So she went along and got me a bottle, and I finished up. They come in big bottles. I finished up by the time I stopped taking morphine. I'd done two and a half of those bottles. So don't go home without the morphine. After the operation, I then had to wait 6 weeks, and then I had some more chemo. Another 5 weeks of chemo. The chemo was a daily tablet, but also on top of that, the oncologist felt that I was strong enough to do radiotherapy as well. And if it's on offer, I'm taking it. You know, do you know what I mean? It's if you think I'm strong enough to have the radio as well, I'll have the radio as well. So you go along. They do little dots, tattoo dots, basically. They do tattoo dots so that they can line up the machine every time that you go there. So my radiotherapy was 5 days a week, so Monday to Friday, 5 days a week, and my chemo was a tablet every day. So you go for that. At the end of the sort of chemo, you get the radiotherapy. You get the opportunity to ring the bell. You've probably heard about that happening, and you ring the bell because you've come to the end of your treatment. It's not because you're cured or anything. People just ring because they come to the end of the treatment, and because again it was COVID. My wife wasn't able to come to the radiotherapy waiting room with me, and what happened was my old team at work were very good. My old Sergeant Butch was just fantastic. If my wife couldn't take me to hospital, then somebody from my team did. But on the times that my wife came, because she wasn't allowed to come with me, it was, she'd bring a magazine. It was lovely weather. It's, not as hot as it here is Spain, but it was sunny. She could sit outside Southend Hospital on the wall with a frappuccino or whatever it was she chose to drink at the time, and read a magazine and people watch. And it was like a little mini day out for her. Meanwhile, I'm going in to get the radiotherapy, feel like dog shit, but it is what it is. On the last day, when you ring the bell, your partner is allowed to come in, even though it's COVID. Your partner's allowed to come in with you for that occasion, and regretfully, she did. And it was, again, don't discount how your partner is feeling, whether it be wife, whatever, however you are living together, whatever it may be, whoever your partner is. Don't discount their feelings, because it's, you're going from A to B and you're both taking two different routes to that A to B, and their journey is probably as bad as yours, even though they're not having the treatments. They, if they love you, of course. If they probably send you on a bus. But she came into the last radiotherapy and bore witness to the waiting area and the others in there, because you're not, you by any stretch of the imagination, you're not the worst in there. You're not the one that's going through the worst of it. It's just an awful place. Not very pleasant at all. Didn't enjoy that one bit, and sadly, she came along to see me ring the bell, and probably, by her own admission, wishes she hadn't, and I wish she hadn't, to be fair. So yeah, that's it. It's all finished. That's the treatments you're going through. After that, it's just a case of getting yourself fit. I'll talk to you about food and stuff in a different film. I'm trying to keep these as reasonably bite-sized as possible, so that you're not getting too bored with it. Some of them will be on a motorbike, so you've got something to look at rather than me. But yeah, that's the treatments that I had to do, and yeah, we're not all the same, but that's sort of a ballpark. Okay. Speak to you in a bit.